Is there packets?
No.
Oh, come on.
So,
Okay. I would like to call this meeting of the IDA to order. And I'll ask our secretary to take roll call.
Better unmute myself. Okay, Sherry Boye,
Present.
James Ellis,
Here.
Stephen Ehrman is absent, Madeline Fleury,
Here.
Archie McKee,
Here.
Daniel Mills,
Here.
Nate Manette is also absent. Also present, Jeremy Evans, Maria Bourgeois, Paul Ellis, Daniel Postal, and Eric Will, both of AES Glengarry Farms.
Thank you, Maria. You all received the agendas in our emails. I'd like to ask if there are any changes to be made to the agenda.
Sure. I mean.
Anything to add or delete? There being none, I'll take a motion to accept the agenda as printed. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Public comment. I guess I'm part of the public, so I'm going to say right now that we have Rachel Child working in Tucker Lake 2 days a week, at least, right? 2 days a week. And Paul, of course, is down there at least 1, maybe 2 days a week also. We're getting a
It'll be
nice
one.
coverage in Tucker Lake. People that have met Rachel so far are just very, very happy with her. So that's a big plus for us because she's the face of the IDA. We've rented office space. If any of you are familiar with Tucker Lake, you know where the Stewart's is. Stewart's shop. Right across the street from Stewart's shop, there's a building that says Roost on the outside right now. And that's the office. That's where we're going to be. So, but she's been phenomenal. Tons of stuff going on in Tucker Lake. I won't bore you with the stuff that's going on, but it's nice to see. Nice to see the activity. Approval of the previous meeting minutes, which you received in the email. I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Madeline, second. Dan? Are there any corrections, deletions, additions, or any changes to the minutes of July 12, 2023? There being none, we'll assume the question's been moved. All in favor of accepting the minutes of July 12, 23, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay. Committee reports. Governance.
I don't believe I have anything to report other than we're going to have a meeting on the 22nd to discuss the process for employee reviews and see if we can get that established before the end of the year.
Very good.
And that's it.
Very good. Another note about governance, we've just appointed, for the record, we just appointed Dan Mills to that committee. There was a vacancy there. And as long as we're on it, I'll ask Archie to do audit and finance.
Well, we did have a meeting, and I don't know whether Paul should report this or myself.
Did you get the thing I sent you? I gave you like bullet point lists.
No, I didn't. How recent was it?
Maybe 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I can pull it up and go over it if you want. Okay. Just take me a second to pull it up.
I know one of the items, just while he's bringing that up, that we don't need to talk about right now because it's on the agenda under new business is the 2024 budget
Right.
calendar. So that's one of them.
Was one of the things we discussed. I believe Paul established a budget schedule,
Yep.
and I
Budget
think
calendar.
that was included in everybody's
Yeah,
packet.
it wasn't emails, that's right.
I'm looking at this way.
Want me to run off at the mouth?
I'm just gonna look in my sent mail folder instead of trying to find it in my drive here.
Can you see that?
Oh, you got it. You pulled it up. Thanks.
Why don't I just read this so that everybody can, the Audit and Finance Committee met on the 3rd. We reviewed the budget calendar as Paul presented it and compared it to last year's. The budget process is starting sooner to allow ample time to complete the process by October 31st. We reviewed the financial statements. Paul is going to follow up with the auditor on a few questions regarding the retirement system contribution. Reviewed the investment reports, proposed modification to the investment policy to maintain a minimum of $100,000 in the checking accounts, revised policy to be presented at the next meeting.
Not this one, the next.
Yeah, because I have to actually revise the whole investment policy for it.
So are you presenting this today?
Today or September?
No,
Or
we're just
September.
given a report, Audit and Finance Committee report that we're gonna be doing that in the future.
It'll be an
Oh.
agenda
That's
item
me.
for September.
And I think we did talk of either setting a minimum or a percentage, whatever. But anyway, we discussed the number of signatories on the checking accounts. Having both a CEO and a CFO now, it is only necessary to have the signatures of 2 board members. It is only in rare situations where both the CEO and CFO were unable to perform banking duties that a board member would need to sign. We recommend that the 2 members of the Audit and Finance Committee be the co-signers. Annual transfer from EDC to IDA. The budget was approved for $75,000. We are only recommending a transfer of $25,000 at this time. This transfer is done to reimburse the IDA for services it provides to the EDC throughout the years, as the IDA cannot gift its services. Is that the end of it?
Yep.
That's it.
So just a couple of things to add on. One of the things that strikes people as why we have to start the budget process so early when our fiscal year starts in January. And the primary reason is because the authority's budget office, the ABO, requires the budget to be inputted, uploaded into their system by October 31st. So that's why we start so early in the year planning for next year. So
Is the upload by October 31 their rule or ours?
their rule.
Their rule.
So, in regards to the comments on the budget calendar, a lot of the things don't change a lot. Just a couple quick points, and is that we're re-looking at a lot of our service as software type products where you pay for software now online. It's usually done on a monthly basis, sometimes an annual basis. And with some of the transition with Russ leaving, and we moved from Dropbox to entirely a Google product because we use Google for everything. We'll be able to probably shave off, $1,000 or $2,000 just in software alone. But we are looking at, our insurance broker kind of gave us the heads up that we're looking at about a 12. Right now, it's been proposed, Excelis has applied for a 12% increase. They probably won't get it. I'm suspecting that everybody likes to see a single digit number, so you might see somewhere in the 9% range. But still, you're looking at about a 10% increase to health insurance. And other than that, it's, a lot of the things are pretty much status quo.
So the Google contract, you're saying, because when I look at the expense reports, I'm always amazed at how expensive that is every month. So are you saying we can do an annual and save more money? Like paying them one and done?
No, what I'm saying is we're looking at all of our software in total, and wherever we can find savings, we're doing the savings. But Google's a very big one of our products. It's, in addition to us using it for email, we use it for all of our records are saved there. We do not save stuff on our desktops, our laptops. Everything is saved on Google Drive. Our calendar is there. Our video meetings are there. I mean, we choose to do Zoom sometimes, but it's a complete package that allows you to do, chat. I mean, our phone calls are through that. It's just a complete package, so it is more expensive because it has a lot more bells and whistles that we use.
Jeremy,
But still, we're looking at wherever we can cut.
Down the bottom.
Matter of fact, we just discovered by this IT company that we're working with is
The target.
there's
Okay.
an entity that where different software companies will make donations to nonprofits. And so we're actually looking at one of our products or a couple of our products where we can go through this third party that could have some additional savings. But we haven't dug deep enough into that to know when that savings is going to hit. But there probably be more savings down the road. So
Very good. Thank you. We commend your diligence in trying to find cheaper
a
outcomes.
big part of Jeremy's on the software savings. So.
Thank you. It's very important. Agriculture Committee report?
Isn't it? Oh, okay.
No.
Nothing to report.
Economic Development, Steve Herman's not here, so we'll pass over. Loan Committee,
I don't have anything. Nate isn't here and he didn't tell me. I think, am I on? Yeah, I'm on.
You're on it.
Yes.
We haven't.
There's nothing in the hopper. I mean, if things move forward with some of the property over at the Tupper Lake Business Park, part of the current deal that's on the table, they might finance directly through us for their portion. So in addition to a sale of the property, we'll have the added benefit of some interest income. And that one would only be roughly a 5-year loan. So
How are the negotiations coming with,
the business park,
HCM and?
we'd have to discuss that in executive session.
Okay.
And that's not IDA anyway. Loans are E EDC.
Thank you.
Right. You're right. Thanks, Maria.
okay, anything else? Thank you. Now downtown revitalization entrepreneurship. We have Steve absent on that one. All I know is that based on.
That's Sherry's.
That's me.
Sherry's
Excuse
committee.
me, I do know that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have a meeting August 21st at 11, what?
11.
11 a.m. That's, a couple weeks.
Well, it appears that things seem to be moving rather quickly in that group. Boy, I'll tell you, Tupper Lake and Saranac Lake with their downtown and Malone with their downtown. An awful lot of activity, which is good. So, thank you. Now we'll look at the treasurer's report. You all have the treasurer's report in front of you. We have a motion to accept, then we can discuss.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Archie, second.
I'll second.
Second by Madeline. Discussion. First thing I want to say is I like this format.
We're getting
We're
there.
getting there.
I couldn't print, I had no time. And the one in the falls, it doesn't always print to that printer, so it wouldn't do me any good anyway.
We were having a printer discussion before the meeting started about the never-ending problem of purchasing a printer and keeping ink in it.
Oh, absolutely. It dries up before I use it at home.
Yeah.
I don't know, so why bother? Send a message at work.
I'm looking at the financial statements and the activities year-to-year comparison. And thank God Paul is investing monies for us,
Ooh, I guess.
and their return, if it weren't for that revenue stream, there wouldn't be a great deal of additional revenue to report if you were to subtract the investment earnings of $18,014 from the total income. You end up with $18,370, which is considerably lower than what the revenue stream was the prior year. And I would bet that that situation follows through to the other organizations that we're involved with.
I'll just add that obviously we're at a time where the rates are higher anyway. So prior years, the rates weren't great. So it is a great time for investing, and even CDs are up there. And I used to be embarrassed to quote them. Now I'm happy to quote them. So what are we getting? Do we get statements on those bonds?
There's no statements because we get like a confirmation because it's just in and out when it matures. It just comes back into our checking account. But I can send everybody a copy of the most recent T-bill auctions. But they're all kind of clumped together. We're a little bit upside down, meaning that your 4-week rate was higher than your 26-week rate, and things now are starting to go into a normal pattern where your longer time horizons are paying a little bit higher rate of interest, but they're all right now paying about 5.4. I've gotten as high as 5.8, but the rates fluctuate depending upon what's going on in the market.
So
But typically 5.4.
for shorter term, that's what you do, week at a time, right?
4 weeks is
4
the minimum.
weeks, okay.
Yeah, 4 weeks is the minimum.
Sad, when you think about it, here we are jumping up and down saying, hooray, we're getting 5%. Inflation's running
That is
7%.
good.
Yeah.
Well, except for the inflation.
So we're
Well,
only losing 2%.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to mention, with in regards to the financials and is if you look at the bottom line on where we are, one of the things that's been confusing and I think has caused concern in the past is typically what happens is the way the budgeting has been done here in the past, it basically is we budget revenues and expenses, and usually we have a negative part of the budget. And looking at some of the other entities that report to the ABO, they do it in a similar fashion. The one thing that hasn't been done here that every other municipality does is they have a pot of money called fund balance. That is like the net from operations since time began for the village or the time. So it's the net amount of what's sitting on the sidelines if they need to use it. And when I've developed the budgets, whether it was at the school district or either of the villages, every year, because you don't want to charge the taxpayers, 10% increase in taxes, you use a portion of that, and it's called appropriated fund balance. We've never used that in the budget development here, which if we did it similar to what other municipalities do, we would be running a zero-based budget, knowing that we are using some of our reserve to help balance the budget. We've been doing that, but in a roundabout way. We just budget revenues and expenses, and whatever's the deficit, we basically, that reduces our fund balance in essence. Right now, with the IDA, with what is on the table for this year, right now we're roughly showing, and this is unaudited, unreconciled, but close enough, about a $200,000 deficit. With the pilots that are on the table this year, we will actually have, I think, we'll have a couple pilots in-house that will put us over, and we will be in the black, just from the 2 pilots that we're anticipating getting this year. So, we're also looking, at a little bit more as the budget process moves forward, looking at, the appropriateness of certain expenses in the EDC versus the IDA. The IDA certainly is going to become self-sufficient through the growth of pilot payments. And so if there is a justifiable reason for an expense coming out of the IDA instead of the EDC,
Right.
then we would look at that.
And that would be subject to board approval?
I mean, no, not necessarily. It's just if an expense really could be charged off to the IDA instead of the EDC, I don't think there's ever been a comprehensive review
Right.
of things. And right now we do get some bills that are invoiced to the IDA, but they're supposed to be paid out of the EDC. And regardless of what it says on the invoice, we should be paying it out of the EDC and vice versa.
That's internal controls, though, that would determine
Yeah.
it. Okay, but the thing is, I don't know how, this is informal. I think that there should be some board input if we're moving things around to any degree, say anything above a certain amount of money.
Well, we're not moving money. It's just how we pay our invoices.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, just then by,
I
Where-
mean, for instance, if there's an invoice that's getting paid out of the IDA and it's supposed to be the LDC,
Yeah.
right, then it should, put
we
it
could
this way.
find, I'm sorry, but we could find that right here in our report.
Not necessarily, I don't think so.
No?
But this is real minutia stuff. I don't know why we would have to get the board. I mean, we're talking a $90 invoice.
No, I'm not, I don't think, that's not, I probably misstated what I'm saying. Anything that has to do with anything of large amounts from one to the other, so that if we look at, the monthly report and all of a sudden EDC is,
No, we're not talking anything like that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, as Archie read in his report, the annual transfer that the board approved when the budget was developed, the committee felt a resolution still should come in front of the board
okay,
to move the 25,000 from the EDC to the IDA.
okay.
I think we would treat it like the purchasing policy dictates, just the way we would operate with any other contractor, right? So the agencies are separate entities, and if one needs to bill the other, that's what happens. But if it's a $200 bill, that would just be, that's not going to be
No,
captured by
no.
board
And
approval.
I didn't want to give that impression. If I did, I'm sorry, that's not.
But I think what
So-
Paul's saying is sometimes we have bills where somebody writes on the invoice IDA,
Right,
because they just treat us all the same, right?
sure.
But it actually should come through the EDC.
Right.
We pay it directly out of the EDC. That's
We should be.
where we should be.
Right.
Sometimes
Yeah,
that happens.
that's actually not correct at the moment. Right now, I bill the EDC quarterly. A couple that I can think of specifically is Slick for Internet at the Carry. They will only deal with the IDA. So didn't we discuss, Paul, finishing this year before we were gonna change things coming out of EDC, or?
No, I thought we're just going to start doing it right off the bat, but
I pay
Well-
based on who it comes to.
So
There was
why
a
won't
question
they
or
do
something over here.
EDC? That doesn't make sense.
all it takes is a phone call and somebody arguing with them. And so I'll call and argue with them about it, because
Well, someone
as long as
has to.
as long as,
It's not inappropriate for that bill to be going to the IDA,
right?
for our own internal controls, our plan is to get it into the EDC. But it's not
What I-
inappropriate for the IDA to be.
So
paid the bill.
basically,
Okay.
I think it is not, it was not any concern to the board in that respect to move, as you have to move things around because of somebody addressing a bill. But I do think maybe at some point, if you want to just indicate any large amount that has to be traced back, this big bill came in, you're going to do it from here. Just let us know in the monthly report.
Yeah, these are all like regular, like $100, maybe 150, 25, we're talking
I'm
really.
not talking that. I'm
Yeah.
talking about a $10,000 bill or
Yeah,
something.
I'm definitely not talking anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I would suggest that any dollar amount that is moved, especially from one agency to another, be approved by the board, even an amount that is moved from within one agency's budget from one line item to another. I would suggest a budget amendment be submitted for the board to approve.
We wouldn't just be transferring money back and forth.
we're not talking that.
That's
We're
not-
talking about an
Well,
invoice that just simply got paid out of the wrong, and it's been happening for years. And Maria just does a single check to reimburse for the things that were incorrectly charged to one entity versus another. And what I'm proposing is that we clean that up so that invoices are charged to the right entity right from the get-go, so we don't have to do this crisscross.
So what you're gonna do is reach out to those companies that are doing that and tell them it needs to be a different
That's
title.
the goal, yes.
That's it, okay.
Yeah.
And that will fix it.
Right.
Hopefully.
Doesn't mean there won't be,
In theory.
but again, we're talking,
Well said.
we're talking minutia, we're talking incredibly little piddly.
But they
I
add
think
up.
that they
But
add
they
up.
add up.
Oh, yeah, if it's a
Yeah.
monthly occurrence on several bills or whatever, it adds up over the year. So I mean,
Right.
it does add up.
Yeah,
It's not just, I know month to month it seems little, but for a year.
over time.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I've been doing this for 25 years, and, these types of things are fixed all the time without board involvement. I'm not trying to minimize that it doesn't accumulate over time, but what I'm trying to do is fix it so it doesn't happen. And until we do that, there's a mechanism in place making sure that that we're not paying incorrect invoices from the wrong entity.
Well, it seems to me that would be pretty easy to fix. Pick up the phone and call the companies and have them change it. I don't know. I just think it's a little tiny phone call. I don't know. How many bills are there?
Well, okay, so
How many
here,
bills are
so
there,
here,
Paul?
okay, so
I have-
here's an
I
example.
have a
Here's
good example.
Verizon. They charge us $9 a month in sales tax. But if anybody's ever been on the phone with Verizon, is my time best spending 45 minutes to an hour on the phone with them, and then another hour trying to make sure the right person gets the tax exempt form. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to do it, but in the priority of everything else that we're doing, those types of things do fall down to the bottom of the priority list.
Well,
And then you multiply that, times the different things like that. So, but as I said, that is a goal to get that all corrected this year.
but apparently you thought it was significant enough to bring up at this.
I try to be transparent. I try to explain what's going on.
At the village, and I know we don't have to operate like the village does. The board approves budget transfers on a meeting basis. Every meeting, we get a.
But wouldn't you think, Archie, that
But
with
these
the,
aren't budget transfers.
Well, they kind of are.
Well, they're going from one
Agency
agency to another.
yeah.
No, when it's like, forget that that's the same board and the same group of people. We're talking about two separate entities. You can't just transfer one to the other. It's a check being written and from one agency to the other, just as if we were going to pay a bill to DANK as a partner agency, or even the county, right? Like, we just need to be careful not to call it a budget transfer, because it's not going from one checking account to another within the same agency. They're different entities.
An actual budget transfer, because
Yeah.
I've done thousands of them when I've worked for all of these different entities, is if you are in your general fund budget and you overspend your capital equipment, and the board approved at the beginning of the year $10,000 for equipment, and you spent $20,000, you need to move money from a different line item in their general fund budget. Let's say you had extra money in payroll. You move $10,000 from payroll to $10,000 in capital. So you now have a $20,000 budget in capital to cover that $20,000 purchase. That's a budget transfer where you're taking money. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about an invoice that was simply paid out of the wrong account that we now need to move to the right account.
So does one of our agencies cut an invoice to the correct
That is
agency?
exactly how I do it currently, yes. Every quarter, I cut an invoice to the EDC to pay for those regular things that are coming out of the IDA. And it's not by my error, it's how the accounts were initially set up, just to be
Right.
clear.
No,
It's nobody's fault. It's one of those things that have
it's
been
not a
set up
matter
that
of
way.
assessing blame. It's a matter of doing it what I think is right. And do you make a notation on that invoice, Maria, as to why?
It is itemized, yes, and by date,
Okay.
exactly. Yep, absolutely.
Maria, it's part of the vouchers, correct?
It is.
Thank you. There being no further questions, or is there?
Yes.
Sherry?
So when we voted at the beginning of the year to do 75,000 from one to the other, how are we deciding that it gets moved in it? When?
Typically, in years past, we've done it towards the end of the year.
That's what I thought. So that's what I was
And
asking.
in this case, it was 75, but we're not recommending that we need to have it all transferred over.
So you're just gonna start with the 25?
Yeah.
And is there a need right now? I guess that's my point. Why are we doing it mid-year versus the end of the year?
Well, it should have been done periodically throughout the year, because the IDA is performing services throughout the year for the EDC. And what happens is, if you wait until the end of the year, then like last year, it happened right at the very end of the year, and it didn't get done until like the very last part of the year, and the journal entry the auditor had to make a journal entry to correct for it. And because it had to be done, the board hasn't made an approval of a transfer since 2020. And so it's because we've been waiting till the last minute that the board hasn't seen the transfer come before it. And now I'm trying to do it on a regular basis throughout the year to match the expenses that we incur throughout the year.
We haven't been consistent in how we've done it.
So this is the first of the year of the 75,000.
And
If we do all of it.
you have to, the other thing that I'm trying to be cognizant of is a reasonableness of what we charge. Last year it was 50. This year we put in the budget 75. It still may just be 50, because what I'm trying to do is we lost the county contract and the EDC.
Right, but we cut Rush, so that kind of offsets. More or
Well, I
less.
mean, there's
Salary.
there's a variety of things that we're looking at, both mostly planning for next year's budget, which is why we want to
Wouldn't
get
it,
started early.
yeah.
That
Wouldn't it-
will make a difference, including that elimination.
Wouldn't it be better to have us do this in the budget? We really need to do a budget workshop separate from our day-to-day business that we do in our monthly meeting. That, just so we can be brought up to date and we can understand, what your proposals are. And, Paul's got some good ideas. Maria's done a great job with the budget. Up till now, we're switching over to a different kind of budget format. I think that's important. So I'd recommend that either we have a special meeting, probably by,
If you look at the budget calendar, I've kind of built in. work
I
sessions.
didn't get my.
You guys aren't letting us get to the budget calendar discussion.
Where's
All right, we can do that. So we'll postpone any further discussion.
We're on the
We're-
treasurer report
We're
now,
on the
right?
treasury
No,
report right
no,
now.
no, we're still in
still
the
on the-
treasurer's
We're on the
report.
treasurer's report.
We haven't done anything with the treasurer's report yet. We put it on the table, it received, it was moved, it was seconded, and now we're having discussion. So therefore, I'm assuming that there are no further questions on this particular treasurer's
Just
report.
kidding,
Pardon me?
just kidding. Just had to wrap it a little. I had
It's
to, I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Because that's the second time you
You
said
remind me
it.
of one of my high school kids that used to do that to me all the time.
Oh, good.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, we'll move the question on the treasurer's report. All those in favor of accepting treasurer's report for this month, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Very good. CEO report. Chair.
CEO report. I have 2 items, but I'm going to save them for EDC. That's okay.
Very good. Old business. Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. 2024 budget. $2024 budget.
I should have printed it, but everybody did get
Yeah.
the calendar
Yeah.
from Paul.
Is it part of the packet?
Anything on
It's
that?
not
Paul?
part of it. It's
Oh.
not part of the packet. It's not in the packet.
Oh,
Okay.
Hang on, I can pull it up.
Looks like our next scheduled meeting is August 24th.
the
So-
budget?
Right,
the
so
budget.
we've actually already started this,
You want me to read through it?
is, sure, just because not everybody has it.
So,
So the budget calendar and looking at it, what I try to do is make it as open as possible and take input from all areas of the organizations, including board input. So I know most of you probably are in a position to make input today, but certainly mail any suggestions in or questions or concerns. What we're going to be doing between now and the 24th is working with the different staff members and putting together the budgets. Once we get all that compiled together, basically it'll come to the Audit and Finance Committee for a first look at it. And then after the Finance Committee gets a look at it, we would be looking to do a tentative budget sent to the board on September 8th. So the board would have an opportunity to look at it from September 8th up to the 13th of September, which is a board meeting date. We can schedule a board work session then. Because we have a little bit more time this year, since we're starting earlier. If the board so chooses, they can schedule another work session the following week on September 20th. And then based upon any changes that come in, we would be looking to pull all of those changes together and submit to the board a final budget for the entities so they could act on it at the board meeting of October 11th. And that would give Maria just about 3 weeks to get it into the Paris system by the end of October.
Very good. Thank you.
So again, the audit and finance will have a shot at it first, and then the board will have a couple opportunities to look at it.
We'll make
Again,
that-
I don't see too many major deviations other than areas that we're finding that we can cut costs. The only thing that we're looking at that might be substantially different this year, expense-wise, will be the fact of anticipating what the rent might cost for the space across the street
Very good.
from where we are right now. That would be, I think, the only significant thing that we'd be looking at cost increase-wise. Mostly, we're looking at making some cuts now that we have more reliable information to go on.
Okay. If everybody's satisfied with that, we can move on to Part B, Resolution 2023-12, authorizing resolution for Glengarry Farms. You all received that report in the in our our email packet. So let's get it on the motion on the table. Authorizing resolution 2023-12, resolution for Glengarry Farms, authorizing that project. Motion,
So moved.
so moved by Archie, second
I'll
by
second.
Sherry. Oh,
No,
sorry.
Sherry?
Yeah, Sherry, second. Discussion.
Let me just give a little bit of feedback or just a reminder of what this project is. It's a community scale project in the town of Burke. And a couple months ago, the board approved a initial resolution authorizing us to move ahead in negotiating with the company on a proposed pilot and sales tax exemption. We've done so. It was pretty easy. We matched the benefits that were awarded or approved for the nearby Burke Solar that we approved
Right.
earlier this year. Was it earlier this year or end of last year for that Nexamp is developing? And AES has been great to work with. We have Dan Postal and Eric Will on in the meeting virtually if you have any specific questions, but they've been great to work with. They've helped make it a smooth project. We held a public hearing on July 11th at the Town of Burke Town Hall. As you might recall, this is one of the steps that we go through. We do an initial resolution, then we hold a public hearing in the town in which the project is proposed. Anytime after that public hearing is closed, the board can then come back and approve the authorizing resolution, which is basically your actual approval. That public hearing had just a few members of the public. It was well represented by the Town of Burke Town Board, and they seem to be very supportive of the project. But they did have some really good questions about the proposed pilot schedule and the impact on taxes to the different entities. But that was shared. I had copies. We had a good discussion, and everything was favorable. So really, the minutes from that meeting are available. So this resolution authorizes approves the project and authorizes myself and Justin Miller to go ahead with getting it closed.
Very good. Any questions?
I have a question. In the past, haven't we seen like what the pilot negotiation actually ended up being? Like we've seen like the numbers, like
Yes, yeah.
we haven't seen that though, right?
If you haven't seen it, I will believe you. I mean that If you
I don't know.
haven't-
I don't remember seeing it, and I could be wrong.
If you didn't, that's on me, but I can summarize what it is, because it's the same as, and then I will share it.
Will you email us, please?
I will,
Yeah.
and you'll see, remember, that's
Yeah,
that
it's a-
spreadsheet,
Yeah.
right, that
Mhm.
shows the different parts of the project as far as what the overall project cost is, and things like the per megawatt rate for the pilot,
Right.
which is, so that's what you're referring to, and
Right.
it has the schedule.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it's it's $5,500 per megawatt, which is the same as all of the projects we've done. It's a 15-year term, which is the same as well. There's also a 2% escalator. So it starts at $5,500 a megawatt. That's how you calculate that initial pilot payment. But every year that goes up 2% through the entire life of the project. And that's on top of the base value of what taxes are being paid right now as a vacant piece of land. And
That escalator, Jeremy, just while I'm at it, that escalator in taxes, is that just for the build-out period, or is that for the operating period also?
it's annually. So once with the first pilot payment, there's an interim year
Right.
of 2024, and then
Yep.
2025, the pilot actually starts. That's at $5,500 a megawatt. 2026, that will have gone up 2%.
It's
So-
an automatic
That's
2%
once
every year.
it's basically what you're saying. It's once it's operational. There's an interim period
Okay.
under
There we go.
construction.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if we were talking about the total life of the project once it's done, or just the build-out period. Now I know, so thank you.
So after the 15-year period, there's no pilot payments?
Correct. Yeah. Then it reverts to being taxed based on its assessed value, just like other properties.
Very good.
So now the agency managing it for the school, the county, and the town?
Yes,
Okay.
this pilot
Has all of them.
has all of it.
Okay.
And one of the things, and again, I apologize, this is my mistake. One of the things that you'll see when I send you that spreadsheet, which we don't have to do, but we do it because I think it's really important, is to show the estimate for what each entity would get from the pilot. So I just brought it up. So for example, with this project, the first year of the pilot, for example, which would be in 2025, the total pilot payment is $29,996. Of that, the town would receive approximately 25%, $7,500. The county would receive approximately 15% at $4,600, and I'm rounding.
Yeah.
And then the school district would receive the balance, which would be about 60, a little less than 60%, or 17,700. These are only estimates because we don't know what the actual tax rates are. Because at the time that we calculate and send the invoice out, we actually look at what the tax rates are for all the jurisdictions, add them all together and see what the percentages are. Then we take the total pilot payment and divide it by those percentages. So we can only give an estimate today because those rates will change a little bit, but we do it just so that each jurisdiction has a better sense of how this actually works for them, not just the overall amount.
Very good. Further questions? There being none, we'll assume that we're ready for a roll call vote to authorize or not to authorize the Glengarry Farms project. Maria?
Okay, for 2023-12, Sherry Boyer,
Yes.
James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman is absent. Madeline Fleury,
Yes.
Archie McKee,
Yes.
Daniel Mills,
Yes.
Nate Manette is absent. The resolution is duly adopted.
Thank you, Maria. We now move on to resolution 2023-13, housekeeping note of bank signatures authorization. I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to read it. We'll get a resolution, we'll get a motion on the floor to accept resolution 2023-13, so we can continue the discussion.
I'll make
Is
the
there a
motion.
motion by Madeline? Motion by Madeline to approve resolution 2023-13. Second by Archie. Discussion.
I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to.
I'm sorry?
I'm reading it now.
We're trying to get to,
It's at the bottom.
at the bottom.
You're getting there, 47. Sorry, guys. Yeah, he's got it.
It is at the end.
I thought we had signatures on there, or that we changed to just the two of you?
No,
We're all on it.
We're
We're
all,
all on it right
Right.
now,
But
but
it's-
this was,
It's outdated because Justice is on there. And,
Oh, so you had to update
right,
it.
but we recommended that we just have two board members now that we have two staff members, both Jeremy and I can sign. It's just a lot more convenient versus having to run around and get signatures. Plus, when I have gone to the bank and tried to do business, they won't let me do business because your name's on the account.
What do you mean? What's that got to do with anything?
Because your name's on the account, they're prevented from going in.
Oh, that's
I have-
not, they're
I
not
have to go-
prevented.
I have
What
to
it
go to
means
Darcy
is,
or I have to go
they
to
can't
some-
see it.
Oh,
Correct. It's
okay,
protected
right.
because I'm an employee as if it were my personal, but it's not.
Right,
But they can't separate the two, so it encompasses anything with my name on it. So
Right.
you just have to see Darcy or April,
yeah.
I think it is, so.
But
Or me, because I can see it all.
But typically, you only really need to have two signatures.
so much
Two
for
other
privacy.
Therefore, we have resolution 2023-13. Motion been made and duly seconded. Any further questions? If not, we'll ask Maria to do the roll call.
Okay, Sherry Boye. Sherry Boye.
Hi,
Still reading.
I'm still reading.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Can I just ask one more question? Because I really am not, my mind's going 100 miles an hour. So this is saying, out of Jeremy, Paul, if you are not available, Archie and Madeline have to sign only. Nobody else on the board. And what if they're not available? Even though we're all listed, any two should be able to sign in my eyes,
Right.
not just Archie and Madeline. I'm just curious why that's so specific.
Any two board members?
It does
Well,
not. It just says the two of you, period, amen.
Yeah, what we had discussed in audit and finance, Archie, is, I mean, if you want to do all the board members, it's fine.
That
It's
doesn't
it's-
mean
it's
everybody
net-
has to
but it-
sign. I'm just
but-
saying two of, so
Only.
God forbid you can't reach you two.
Well, no.
You guys are out.
We only need one signature on a check. You only need one person to do business. And the likelihood of Jeremy and I both being abducted by aliens is extremely
Well, we
remote.
never know. You know, things happen.
And so then then the backup would be the audit and finance committee. It's just very cumbersome to have 7 signatures on the card when there's really no need for it.
Okay, I disagree. Sorry. So we can vote.
You got to vote. All right, Maria, go
Okay,
ahead.
so we're ready to roll call for
Yes, ma'am.
2020-13. Sherry Boye.
No.
Okay, James Ellis.
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman is absent. Madeline Fleury.
Yes.
Archie McKee.
Yes.
Daniel Mills.
Yes.
Nate Manette is absent. Resolution is duly adopted with 4 votes.
Which is, the chair declares that's our minimum group, minimum.
Quorum.
We have a quorum.
Necessity.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Okay. Now, let's see what we have next. Executive session, do we need one?
I was hoping to get an update on
I think that's.
That's
You want to do that here?
No.
I don't know.
Oh, is that
It's gotta be in the
EDC?
LDC.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm missing the EDC thing. Jeremy,
Yes.
I'm missing the
You
EDC.
need the EDC.
Please.
Okay, are we adjourned? I need to stop.
We
this
can in a
meeting.
moment. I just want to make sure we've got everything covered. We have an executive session that we need. Thank you. We have
Yeah,
an
but apparently
executive
that's,
session.
that's related to EDC, not
Yeah.
IDA.